Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Monatui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our GBA Season 8 Week 1 match versus none other than PokeaimMD, aka Joey, coach of the Bronx Beartics. Now if you have not done so already, please check out his YouTube link in the description below. He is an absolutely fantastic battler. I assume if you follow any sort of competitive Pokemon, you are already subbed to him. However, if for whatever reason you are not, definitely check him out in the description below as mentioned. So, I have an entire team builder dedicated to my team. However, for a quick breakdown, we have our Mystic Water 3 attacks Keldeo, we have our Assault Vest Slowking, we have a somewhat bulky, somewhat offensive Charizard X with Will-O-Wisp, we have our physically defensive Gliscor with Stealth Rock, we have our Choice Banded Weavile, and we have our Choice Scarf Defog Rotom-Mow. Now, Joey did bring the 6 that I was more than likely predicting Stack Attack could have come, but I do have my checks to that in Gliscor and Slowking. No Salazzle, which is very good. Even though I do have my checks to it, it could have been very difficult if it was a nasty plot set since I'm not Scarf Keldeo. And, you know, Fire Blast, and I'm not Spadef on Gliscor, so Fire Blast to +2 I believe O-code me. So that's very nice to see. But what he does have, as you can see on screen, is his Acelgor, Necrozma, Mega Gyarados, Miltank, Zygarde 50%, and the Rhydon. And looking at his team, just based on team preview here, I'm expecting him to be somewhat, probably like an Acelgor lead in order to get up a Spike or a Toxic Spike, and then continue to play offensively from there. Based on his team, it looks like he's got a lot of setup potential. Necrozma will more than likely be set up. Gyarados is obviously going to be set up unless he's some weird bulky Taunt Thunder Wave set. Zygarde typically wants to set up unless he's Choice Banded. Even his Miltank and Rhydon have the potential to set up with Curse and Rock Polish Swords Dance respectively, so I have to be very careful with that, and it feels like, looking at his team, that he's going to want to lead something like Acelgor to get up a Spike or Toxic Spike, Miltank to get up rocks, or Rhydon to get up rocks. So what I actually decided to do as we get this battle started is I decide that I want to lead off with my Keldeo, because it beats both of his rockers in Rhydon and Miltank, and or at least forces them out, and it obviously can take a hit from the Acelgor, and because I am running Icy Wind on my Keldeo, if he does lead Acelgor, which as you can see he actually does, I can go for Icy Wind on turn 1. He is going to be able to get up a Toxic Spike, as you'll see there, but because I do go for the Icy Wind, I will be able to slow him down to the point where my Keldeo will be able to outspeed him on the following turn, and then I will be able to knock him out with the Mystic Water boosted Scald on the following turn. So as you can see, Icy Wind does about 30%. And Scald will definitely be able to knock him out. He knows that, so he is going to be forced out into his Miltank. He does not have great Scald switch-ins. Just his entire team in general doesn't really have great Keldeo switch-ins, so he does choose to go out into his Miltank, which actually takes that surprisingly well, showing that he is more of a specially defensive variant. However, I believe it was not guaranteed for Secret Sword to be able to knock this thing out. I believe it was a roll heavily in my favor, but I didn't want to risk not getting that roll. I didn't want to risk him being some strange mixed variant, so I do switch out into my Rotom, scouting for potential Thunder Wave, as he does actually pull a double out into his Necrozma. And this is okay for me, because I do outspeed this thing. I can go for the Volt Switch. He does have 2 ground types, but neither of which really want to take a Leaf Storm, so I didn't think he would want to risk it, as he does end up just going right back out into his Acelgor. And I'm going to go for the Volt Switch right here. And now I'm going to go out into my Charizard X. It can take a Bug Buzz very well. If he expects me to be a Dragon Dance variant, he's going to be forced out. He's not going to want to go for a Spike here. And as you can see, he is going to be forced right out into his Rhydon. And now, I'm going to stay in regular form with my Charizard and go for a Dragon Claw. And I'll explain that in a little bit. For right now, just pretend that I'm doing it on purpose, okay? Just pretend like I'm doing it on purpose. I'm going to go for Will-O-Wisp here, because I can potentially burn the Rhydon, which would make it very, very easy for me to deal with. If I did Mega Evolve, it would not 2-KO me with Earthquake. And now, you're watching this, and you're seeing that I'm staying in regular form with Charizard. You may think that it's so that I can 4 times resist Bug Buzz, and take it a little bit better than if I had Mega Evolved. Or maybe you're thinking I was just on next level steroids or something and wanted to get a unstabbed Dragon kill with regular Charizard. But the reason why I'm not Mega Evolving my Charizard is because I did not, at the time we played this game, I was at I think I was at the first trial in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, because I procrastinated on playing the game, and completely slipped my mind that I did not start with the Mega Bracelet. So I do not have the Mega Bracelet, so I'm going to play this game with the regular Charizard, which is going to be fantastic, but it's okay, because in a few moments you're going to see that I'm not the only one who did a goof in this game. So we're going to go out into our Slowking on the Necrozma, because if he is a special variant, I'll be able to take it on very well. If he's physical, I will be able to take one hit, bar potentially like a PokeaimMD, like a Savage Spinout from this thing if he's running X-Scissor. As he does end up going for the Rock Polish, confirming he's more than likely a physical variant, and then him going for Swords Dance definitely confirms that he's a physical variant, obviously boosting that physical attack to be able to knock me out with something like a Tectonic Rage or a Knockoff or an X-Scissor. I go for a Scald here, hoping for a burn. Unfortunately, I do not get it. So now, if he is a Z-move, he'll more than likely be able to knock me out. If he has Knockoff, he'll be able to knock me out. And as you can see, he does fire off that Z-move, but as you can see here, based on his little dude's animation, he's not Groundium Z, he's not Boginium, he's actually going to be Shattered Psyche, which I was like, okay, maybe he has Zen Headbutt over Photon Geyser, specifically for a more powerful Psychium Z. But as you can see here, after the animation goes off, that does about 4 to my Slowking, and he did actually have Psychium Z with Photon Geyser. And if you're unaware, Photon Geyser is a move that does damage based on the higher stat that you are, but if you just put Psychium Z on it, and you use Z plus Photon Geyser, it just turns into a stronger special move. It does not follow the same characteristics as Photon Geyser, and he did not know that prior to this game, and that's going to end up costing him because it allows my Slowking to get off an extra Scald. Unfortunately, I don't burn him again, but I do get off a decent bit of damage off onto him so that I can at least Earthquake him with Gliscor and put him in range of Ice Shard from my Weavile. Had he been something like Groundium Z, and Earthquake plus Ice Shard from Weavile did not knock him out, he potentially could have just 6-0 swept me right there. Not 6-0, 5-0 swept me right there. But thankfully he did make that mistake. He's going to be able to 2-hit KO my Gliscor with the Photon Geyser, and he will be able to knock out 2 of my Pokemon. However, after my Gliscor does go down, I will be able to go right out into my Weavile and just pick him off with the Ice Shard. I'm not going to predict anything. I don't want to predict the Gyarados coming in. I don't want to predict him sacking something else. I just need to click Ice Shard, get rid of this absolute monster that is in my face. And while, again, we did lose 2 Pokemon in the process, we are able to get rid of one of the biggest threats to my team in his Necrozma. Now, if we're able to do the same thing with the other 2 huge threats, being Zygarde and Mega Gyarados, then we'll be in a very good spot. But we are slowly getting rid of the Pokemon on his team, slowly putting a hole in his team so that we can potentially clean up later on with something else. But he's going to be able to send out his Gyarados here, go for the Intimidate, and potentially get a setup because he knows he's more than likely convinced that I'm locked into Ice Shard and I can't really do anything to him. So he is going to go right for that Dragon Dance, and he does stay in regular form so that he can take Leaf Storms neutrally, so that he can take hits from other things better, you know, resist both of my Keldeo attacks. But I am Choice Scarf, and he is going to fear that, so he is going to switch out. And I actually make a little bit of a prediction here. I expect him to either switch out into one of his ground types, or he's going to go for a Mega Evolution so that he can live the Volt Switch. Thankfully, he does go out into his Rhydon as I do click Leaf Storm, and I am able to just clean knock out this Rhydon, which is fantastic. That's one of his ground types gone, so I'm close to spamming Volt Switch. However, it is also a little bit bad for me because now that I am at -2, he can send in his Zygarde and get a relatively free setup because he knows that I am forced out. And since I don't really have great switch-ins to this thing anymore, I'm going to be forced out into an offensive check to this thing in my Weavile. He's going to go for Substitute here. Smart play on his part, although this does, I don't think this puts him in range of Ice Shard, but it does put a little bit of chip damage off onto him, which is very nice. He can't knock me out with E-Speed at this range if he does decide to go for it. I'm just going to go for Ice Shard. Could have gone for Icicle Crash to guaranteed get the knockout if he decided to stay in, but if he's a Dragon Dance variant, he would have outsped me on the following turn. Plus, Icicle Crash can miss, and if I missed an Icicle Crash here, I just straight up lost the game. So I do go for that Ice Shard, as he does go for the Dragon Dance. His sub breaks, and he does outspeed me now. But unless he is adamant with Extreme Speed, he will not be able to knock me out. I'm not even sure if Extreme Speed at this range would have been able to knock me out. So he is actually going to be forced out once again, which is very, very good for me. Again, that's a very scary Pokemon for me to deal with. And he is going to go right out into his Gyarados, get the Intimidate off onto me, and possibly allow himself another setup. But again, I can't allow this Gyarados to get beyond +1. If he gets the +2/+2, that's a very big problem for my team. I don't have HP Electric on my Keldeo, so he can just stay in regular form versus it, and 2-KO me with Waterfall. So what I'm going to do is once again go right out into my Rotom Cut. He does go for Dragon Dance once again, but again, because I am Choice Scarf, I will be able to outspeed this Gyarados and knock him out with a potential Volt Switch on the following turn. He knows this, so again he is going to switch out, and rather than risking his Zygarde to a potential Leaf Storm, he's just going to make the smart play, go out into his Miltank in order to sack it off. Because I know that this is a relatively specially defensive Miltank, I can go back out into my Weavile and knock him out with the Banded Knockoff. Knockoff also ensures that nothing can really come in on it. Like, he cannot hard switch in a Gyarados, that'll take a decent amount of damage. He can't hard switch in a Zygarde, that thing will be 2-KO'd. So his only real play at this point is to sack his Miltank, which is actually very good for me, because assuming this thing is Sap Sipper, that gets rid of his Grass immunity, and I'll be able to spam Leaf Storm with my Rotom. Like, if I'm able to click Leaf Storm on something, I'll be able to get a kill or a 2-KO, which is very good for me. Regardless, we get rid of the Miltank, and we are actually in a pretty good spot here. He does still have the two biggest threats to my team, but assuming I play this correctly, I will be able to take both of them down without losing too many of my Pokemon. So as you can see here, he does send in the Zygarde. I can't really switch out versus this thing, so I'm just going to go right for that Choice Banded Knockoff. If he gets up to +1, not that big of a deal. He can't knock out my Rotom anyway, and I can knock him out with Leaf Storm or Hidden Power Ice. As you can see, he does go for the Dragon Dance. He knows I'm Choice Banded at this point, so he has no reason to fear me switching up moves and going for the Ice Shard in order to pick him off. So he is just going to click that 1,000 Arrows and get rid of my Weavile, which is a little bit unfortunate because Icicle Crash would have been nice to spam later on, forces Gyarados to Mega Evolve. There wasn't really another play that I had at that point. So now, what I can do, because my Keldeo is at full HP, and I know he's obviously not a boosting at him because we saw leftovers, I can go for the Scald in order to knock him out. He's actually going to go for Sub, which is a very smart play, because that means that I am forced to take 12% of toxic damage, and then potentially he'll be able to knock me out in the following turn with 1,000 Arrows, depending on my spread. You know, if he gets a crit, he might be able to knock me out now or whatnot, but as you can see here, he does go for that 1,000 Arrows. Despite being +1, Keldeo has good enough natural bulk to be able to take this relatively well, and because he is at such a low percentage, I can just click Scald and knock him out. And now, the Zygarde is down, the second very, very big threat to my team is gone, and all he has left is the Gyarados, and we are going to be able to win this game just by clicking Icy Wind, slowing him down and getting some chip damage off to the point where my Rotom will be able to outspeed him and knock him out with the Volt Switch, or going for Leaf Storm later on. So we click Icy Wind, and we miss, and that's still not the worst thing in the world, right? Because he has a choice of knocking me out or going for another Dragon Dance. If I am able to connect with the next Icy Wind, he'll be at +1 if he does go for Dragon Dance. If he just knocks me out, I'll be able to still outspeed him with my Rotom, but here he reveals the Sub, and there's no way that Icy Wind is going to be able to break the Sub of Gyarados. So as you're going to see here, I do not get the crit, and his Sub is going to be able to live. We died of poison, and now we're in a bit of a tough spot, because now Rotom can come out. I do outspeed him, and I will be able to break the Sub with Volt Switch, but now he can just go for a second Dragon Dance and win this game, because as you can see here, again, I'm forced out with the Volt Switch. I go out into my Charizard, which does not even have its Mega Stone, so he's going to go for the second Dragon Dance. He can do basically whatever he wants here. His best play is to just go for Sub or to go for Waterfall in order to knock me out. As you can see here, he is going to Mega Evolve in order to get the additional physical bulk. And after this Mega Evolution animation, which is actually very, very cool, I love Mega Gyarados' Mega animation. He just gets all beefy and shrimp looking and whatnot, and he looks really cool. He's just going to go for Substitute, and because I am a regular Charizard, and this is an unstabbed Dragon Claw, it is not going to be able to break his Sub, and he's basically got the game here. The only way I would have been able to win this game is if he chokes and goes for a third Dragon Dance for whatever reason, as I go for Will-O-Wisp, but there's no way he would have done that. As you can see, he did not do that. He's going to knock out my Charizard. He would have been able to knock me out even if I were Megazard X. The only thing that would have made a difference is if I was actually Mega Charizard X, I would have been able to break his Sub, and then Rotom would have been able to live this hit. But as you can see here, +2 Gyarados will be able to knock out my Rotom regardless, so even if I did have my Mega Stone on Charizard, it should not have made a difference in this game. And as you can see, we are going to lose this game versus Joey. Now, there's no need to be upset. You know, I played this game very, very well. I think Joey did play it as well as he could as well. I was able to put some pressure on him with my offensive threats. I was also obviously able to take advantage of the fact that he brought PokeaimMD Photon Geyser on his Necrozma. So Slowking was able to deal with it for an extra turn, get some extra chip damage off onto it. I was able to make some good offensive switches in order to make sure that his mons couldn't set up too much. And then everything went wrong at the very end when we missed our Icy Wind. Now, if you watch Joey's perspective, you know that we did a little bit of a thing. Like, we just did like a small recording on his channel just to like talk about the game and, you know, make sure that there were no hard feelings and, you know, send the message out to everybody watching that no, I'm not like super angry at him. Like, this is the game we play. Basically, when you sign up to play Pokemon, you have to sign a waiver that says you will get screwed over numerous times a day. It's happened to plenty, you know, if you watch Joey's lives, you know it happens all the time. It's happened to me before, obviously it happened to me here now. Regardless, you know, like, I made a silly mistake of not bringing my Mega Stone, or not unlocking my Mega Stone. He made the silly mistake of putting PokeaimZ on his Necrozma, and then obviously the Icy Wind at the end. It was just a very, very silly game, but as he said, and as he has said several times, I'm glad we got all this weird stuff out on week 1. Again, obviously not his fault that he missed Icy Wind. That was his win condition, going for Dragon Dance on the Icy Wind miss, and it ended up working for him. Sometimes that's what you gotta do in Pokemon, you know? You got a 5% chance to win, you go for that 5%, you know? You gotta win by a crit, you go for it. You gotta win by dodging a move, you go for it. So, again, don't go to his channel, don't harass him. Be good little boys and girls, and, you know, accept that this is the result of the match. Regardless, this was a very fun game to play, for sure. It was very high-tense. It was intense, rather, not high-tense. I guess you could say the same thing for either, but it was a very good game, very fun. Definitely glad that we got all this crap out of the way week 1. Next week we are going up against John, aka PokeaimMD of the New Orleans Pelipers. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Like I said earlier, check out Joey in the description if you have not done so already, and I will see you in the next game.